laying 2 at home. Game 6, a closeout game for the Heat. Total here is 206.5. Miami trying to close things out in Philly, but they have yet to win a game on the road. Home teams in this series are 5-0, which means that the Heat are going to have their work cut out for them tonight. Chris, how are you looking at this game?
Yeah, well, just another Jekyll and Hyde series, right? We have two teams who they've played really well at home, not so well on the road, look like different versions of themselves. Now the 76ers coming off that loss where they were, coming off a game where they shot 48% from three-point land, and then in Game 5, right? That was Game 5, yeah. I'm losing track of all these games at this point. The previous game they shot like 32%, just all their marks really low, really down. So now Philly returns home. Obviously, that's a better spot for them. But there are some stats that back up that they're going to perform better today. Josh, you mentioned the three-point shooting in the playoffs, right? Sometimes it makes all the difference. The Miami Heat shooting 27% from beyond the arc on the road, 37% at home. The Sixers 33% on the road, 44% at home from beyond the arc. Again, the 76ers, if they're nailing shots from the outside, Joel Embiid is going to get his inside. He's clearly annoyed by the mask. He's maybe not his best self, but he's still very capable. A lot of players on the 76ers had down games. I mean, they got obliterated by the Heat really from start to finish. I like the 76ers, again, at home in a better environment to start off hot. We've seen that in the playoffs too. Basically, the team that takes the first quarter and first half takes the game. And I think a lot of that is because you have a lot of great defenses, right? So then they can start playing their half-court defense. They can start their sets the way they want to start their sets, especially when they're at home. So I expect Philly to start off fast, to start off more confidently, probably with much better shooting. I also expect this to be a pretty low-scoring game, obviously very contentious as usual and probably slow-paced. But it almost feels too easy. Do we just keep on taking home teams? No, but there is some obvious disparity statistically for how these teams perform. And a team like the 76ers, who can always be so Jekyll and Hyde, like who are they really? They're so down, they're so up. This is probably a spot for them to be more up.
All right. Well, I don't mind the 76ers being up as long as they don't score too much, because I'm going to play the Sixers team total under 104.5. This has gone under in 4 of the 5 games. They're averaging only 99 points per game. And I think Embiid is a little bit more banged up than maybe the public even thinks he is. I mean, he got hit in the face pretty hard. Between the face injury, the thumb injury, I think he's kind of done for this series. He's only averaging 19 points in this series. Throughout the entire regular season, he was putting up 30. So he's not bringing the same typical numbers that he usually does. And then you have to ask James Harden to step up in his place and provide a lot more scoring. And I think we got the one big James Harden game this series in Game 4. He had 31. I just don't see him doing that again based on what we've seen throughout this postseason. Jimmy Butler has been playing Tyrese Maxey pretty tough on defense, making things difficult for him. So he's not necessarily getting the same quality looks that he has in previous series or during the regular season. Overall, I think the Heat are just more physical. I think they're going to wear down Philly tonight. I kind of disagree with you, Chris. I think this one might be Miami. They take it. They close out the series here tonight. But whether or not they do, I agree with you that this will be a low-scoring game. Yes.
No, I was gonna say there's a reason why I'm not taking the Sixers full game. I'm just saying.
Right. I mean, yeah.
So I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. But my play in this one, because I don't want to take the full game either, is the Sixers team total under. Josh, no official plays for you in this one, but do you have a lean, either the side, total? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no official play, only because I have a pretty big serious position on Miami -1.5 games. So I essentially need them to win today. And I like my position there. So if I didn't have that, I probably would be on the Heat to close it out on the road. I don't think that there's a world where they shoot as poorly as they did Game 3 and Game 4. Basically, it's as simple as that. I don't think that, the regression from last game will be so significant that the 76ers are then able to sort of close the gap in what was a pretty large disparity across the court in basically every single area measurable. So For me, I don't imagine Philadelphia. It's kind of like we just spoke about with Golden State, where they did throw that game away towards the end once they realized they had no chance. But you can't just flick a switch in the NBA playoffs. You know, you can't just come home, flick a switch, and think that, well, we'll just go and win now instead and force a game 7 and see what happens. You know, you're also relying on Doc Rivers to motivate his team. You're also relying on James Harden to show up in a closeout game in the playoffs. These are things that just don't happen. They haven't happened in the past. I don't see why they happen today either against a Miami team who's just so well organized. And like I said, I still think that they do put a better shooting performance forward tonight. And as long as they can avoid a Danny Green 7-for-7 3-point shooting explosion, then they should be just fine. So for me, I probably would play the Heat normally in this situation. I think the price is pretty enticing. The only reason I haven't personally is just because of series position, and I don't need to triple dip essentially.
Ever since I called out Danny Green for shooting terrible in the first couple of games of the series, he's gone off. So I might just shut my mouth and not call anyone out specifically.
Can you reverse it somehow, like other way? Like how does it work?
Great. Keep it up. Good job. Yeah. Now
one of our listeners asked that question about Danny Green on Tuesday, and then he went off. So kudos to that listener.
She did, and she also asked if Jay Crowder was going to go over his prop, and we said,
correct,
probably not, and he did that night too. So yeah, we've got some sharp listeners here.
Yeah, maybe she should be on the show, not us. Whoa.
She can take my spot for a couple days. All right, Chris is playing Sixers first quarter -1. I'm going to take the Sixers team total under 104.5.